Good evening. It's now 6:30 and I call to order the regular meeting of the Victoria City Council. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda this evening is announcements. Our next workshop is on Monday, February 26th at 5:30 p.m. This will be the opportunity for council to interview applicants for our Park and Rec Committee and our Senior Advisory Committee. We will also be interviewing applicants for Planning Commission on Monday, March 11th at 5:30 p.m. during council workshop. As a reminder, all meetings of the City Council are open to the public and held in council chambers at City Hall unless otherwise noted. We also love to hear from our residents and encourage anyone interested in speaking at a council meeting to contact our city clerk for more information. In other announcements, the presidential primary election will be held on Tuesday, March 5th. We encourage everyone to get out and vote. Because it is election day, there will be no public meetings. Additionally, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of the council and city staff to recognize and thank our fire chief, Andrew Hager, for his many years of dedicated service to our community. Many of you know Andrew is our fire chief and has served in this role as our city's first full-time fire chief. He has accepted a job as the fire chief in a neighboring community where he'll continue to make great contributions. Thank you, Andrew, for your leadership with the fire department and for serving the City of Victoria community for so many years. There are no further announcements, so the next item on our agenda is proclamations. We have no proclamations this evening, but Chief is here to recognize our firefighters and new firefighters to the team and recognize years of service for several others. So Chief, please join us to kick us off.
All right, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for the kind words. This will be the last time I get to step in front of you and do this, so I appreciate the time tonight. But tonight our team comes together to celebrate some new faces and then also recognize an outgoing member with the organization who committed 25 years to the organization. So we'll begin by administering an oath of office this evening. Much like council members do when they take a new position as a council member, the oath of office is an individual promising themselves to serve the community, a cause, or an entity. So in our case, obviously, that's providing emergency services to the community. The individuals that we'll have before us tonight are 6 of our newest firefighters that were hired in December of 2023. So they're brand new to the team, just coming aboard. The community really relies on the trust of our firefighters in their time of need and making sure that they deliver the most professional services when they call 911. So tonight I have the pleasure of introducing 6 of our newest firefighters: Dimitri Paskech, Cody Cole, Sarah Knight, Justin Jurek, Jay Tannell. Again, as I mentioned, all these individuals were hired in December of 2023. And in the coming months, they're going to begin all of their fire and medical training. So that's about a 300-hour commitment over the rest of this year before they're fully aboard and able to operate as certified firefighters. So with that, I would invite those 6 individuals to step forth, and I will also invite our city clerk to the podium to administer the oath of office.
Welcome. This is a big freshman class.
Right there.
Just need you guys to raise your hand and then repeat after me. And you'll have to put in your name. I promise that I will humbly serve. You guys will need to read along with me. I will promise that I will humbly serve all customers with the urgent response to their crisis with compassion, sincerity, patience, kindness, and respect. I promise that I will at all times conduct myself in a manner that reflects positively on Victoria Fire Department as well as the city of Victoria. I recognize the badge of office as a symbol of public trust and faith. I will honor and respect the mission, goals, purpose, and policies of the Victoria Fire Department. Finally, I promise to uphold the law of our state,
nation, and the ordinances of the city of Victoria. I will faithfully discharge my duties as a firefighter to the best of my abilities.
All right, you may be seated. Thank you very much. And again, welcome to the team, to the new 6. We look forward to long, prosperous careers with the organization. Next, I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize retirements. So annually, any retirements from the organization that are 20-plus year members get the opportunity to come before City Council and be recognized. So tonight, we're honored to recognize the accomplishment of Troy Walsh, who has made a significant impact to our community throughout his career with the organization. Throughout Troy's career, he has attended thousands of emergency calls, attended thousands of hours of training, provided that care and compassion that we pride ourselves on, and serving the community in their time of need. So we'd like to just celebrate Troy's successful career and then also say thank you to his family that's in attendance tonight as well. Troy began his service with the Victoria Fire Department in August of 1998, following in the footsteps of his dad and his brother. So he had, at one point, all 3 were on the department together. I think Tom did close to 40 years. His brother Tim did 25 years, right around there as well. So a long, dedicated service to the community from the Walsh family. In Troy's capacity with the fire department, he served in various roles, beginning at a lieutenant position, working his way up to a captain position, and ultimately an assistant chief role. Troy's passion really rose through and was training. He got very involved in training and still is to this day. Troy leads the Carver County Fire Academy, which is a consortium of all the fire departments that come together and pool our resources to train new firefighters. So our new firefighters that were just sworn in will likely be sitting in Troy's class in August, learning those initial firefighting skills. So Troy's passion is obviously that training aspect, and it has risen to the top throughout his career. So Troy served with us 25 years, and upon his departure, his fire service didn't stop. He moved to Carver, the city of Carver, and joined the fire department there, where he now serves the city of Carver as a firefighter. So at this point, I would like to ask Troy to step forth and receive a plaque recognizing his 25 years of service to the community. And then I would also like to invite Steph, Troy's wife, and she is going to pin his retired badge on his uniform, signifying his retirement. Good job. Perfect. So again, Troy, on behalf of the city and the entire organization, again, we just want to say thank you for your distinguished service to the community, and we appreciate it. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, members of the council, again, thank you for the time. That's all I've got this evening.
All right, thank you so much. Again, welcome to the new firefighters. Congratulations on your retirement, and to your wife as well. She will probably be happy to have you home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
do you want to do a group photo?
Yes.
or-
Dana will wrangle us for photos. Tell us what you need us to do.
Stand up, and then if you guys all want to.
Do you want us back?
Yeah, if you
We'll
guys
stay here.
And then the
Okay.
rest of you in front. You want to do all group, or let's do one with this group first, and then we'll do everybody. So come in on the inside of the U.
All right, come on in. We'll just find a window behind.
You're good.
Now you're gonna have to. Yep. Scoochie on over.
Yeah, shuffle, 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 yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try to not have that in the way. And then, council members, I'm gonna need you on tippy toes. And you three. All right, on Trenton
We're all set? Okay. All right, and then the rest of the, all right, come on in here.
Council members, if you want to come out too.
Yeah, don't waste these uniforms and take pictures every time we get them in.
Just fill a space.
I didn't recognize Brady. I got yep.
This side's gonna have to get cozy like this seven. I would stand on a chair, but that's probably frowned upon. So, we just had OSHA training. Yeah, all right. Maybe one more leaning in. I'm almost there. On the end. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 3. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. We're good?
I will not.
I think she's the star of the show.
Did he like unbutton his coat as fast as humanly possible?
All right.
Now we're empty.
Yeah. That was fun. All right, our next order of business is to adopt the final agenda. Council, can I get a motion?
Motion to adopt the final agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our next item, which is open forum. This is the opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda and not an application form that will be coming to the council at a future date. No one has registered in advance to speak. There is no one left in the council chambers this evening, so we are moving along. Next item is our consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine, administrative, and do not require deliberation or are housekeeping items that are required by law. They're approved with one vote unless someone requests an item to be considered separately. Ms. Hardy, does staff wish to pull any items from the consent agenda?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council, anyone here would like to pull an item from the consent agenda for separate discussion and vote?
I'd like to pull 2 items, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Evansky.
5.8 and 5.11.
I'm sorry, 5.11.
5.11.
5.8 and 5.11. Clerk, let the record reflect that item 5.8 and 5.11 have been pulled for further discussion. Can I get a motion for the balance of the consent agenda, please?
Motion.
Motion for the balance of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to item 5.8, which is the motion to approve agreement for Hunter's Glen. Councilmember Evansky, please.
I just feel that accelerating the development agreement so that we're essentially dispersing $500,000 a couple months sooner than we otherwise would pursuant to the contract is a bit of a disadvantage to the city. We're in a position where we've taken taxpayer funds collected in taxes, and we're holding these funds for disbursement pursuant to the agreements that we've had. By doing this, where the city is going to forego a couple months of additional earnings in its investment account, and we then face also just a slight bit more risk of things not being completed on time. And by having The agreement that we struck with this developer to bring this road through, we gave this $500,000 to the developer to get the project done so that we could extend Red Fox Drive for the safety of the school. Council may recall that this is a diversion of what was originally tagged to bring Timber Terrace to connect to Marsh Lake Road. We're now at a spot where we're being asked to give up funds earlier, and I think that the city is better served by having the agreement that keeps our funds in the city's investment accounts until it's actually completed, and then we'll disperse. And we would, I think, be foregoing a pretty sizable amount of earnings on taxpayer funds. So that's my, I would recommend that we do not move forward with accelerating the development agreement and leave things stand as is.
Thank you. Ms. Hardy, can you comment about, does that, if we do that, does that jeopardize the timeline on the project? Where does that leave us?
Mayor, members of the council, with the city engineer still here, maybe I'll tag team this one with her. If Carrie, you want to start and I can jump in.
Ms. Guerin, please.
Sure. So Mayor, members of the City Council, this was a request that staff brought forward at the request of the developer. So the Summergate Development has extenuated this request. The road, Red Fox Drive, is open to the public now. So from their perspective, they've achieved what the intent of the completion of the construction is, because it's serving the community at large, the full Lake Town neighborhood, and access to the schools. So they did request this. Brian Tucker wasn't able to be here tonight because he is recovering from an illness, so wasn't able to join us. But you know, he didn't specifically state what their financial situation was that is resulting in requesting this payment now. But that's the request that staff received.
Okay. Ms. Hardy, anything to add to that?
I think that about covers it, unless there's additional questions.
Okay. Council, additional questions?
Just a general one. I mean, what precedent are we setting? And how many requests have we gotten before? How many questions are we going to get after we do something like this from developers?
Okay, very good. Ms. Hardy, please.
Mayor, members of the council, I don't think it would be inaccurate, and I'll ask Kara to correct me. A lot of our development agreements, or a lot of when infrastructure comes at play, it's not unusual for the city, including our cities and Victoria and other cities, to release funds or portions of funds at substantial completion. So do you think that's an accurate statement, Kara?
Yeah, so typically road reimbursement is not something we typically are reimbursing for. This was a unique circumstance that I'm not off the top of my head thinking of another one where we'll be in that boat. But most commonly, we are reimbursing the developer for the construction of sanitary sewer and water main. And typically we do pay those reimbursements when the utilities are available for use. So once they're serving the public. In this particular case, the developer does have a letter of credit in place to ensure the completion of the improvement. So the work that remains after substantial completion, we have security in place to make sure that that does get completed. So the risk to the city associated with getting those things finalized is low, because we wouldn't release the letter of credit amount until per the development agreement, there's different elements of when we release letter of credit, but we retain through the warranty period 25% of the security after the council's accepted the improvements. Okay. So, you know, the language that exists in the existing development agreement, at the time we drafted it, we were in a situation financially where the finance director didn't want to have to outlay those funds in 2023. It's 2024 now. So part of the reason why the language was crafted the way it was in case they were able to move really quickly last year, she preferred to not have to spend that money until 2024. So that's why it was written the way that it was in the first place.
All right, very good. Councilmember Adamski, any other questions, comments about that?
I don't have any other questions.
All right. With that, council, any other questions, comments from the rest of council?
I mean, I guess I understand what Councilmember Ivansky is saying from getting, more interest or, on here, but I mean, it's substantially complete. It's open to the public. I know they agreed to this, but they are a small business. My understanding is that, if it's not, we're not, as Kara said, right? Like, we have things in place that protect us to get this done. So it's not like we're losing our, I don't think there's more risk. We have the funds that would allow us to say, right, like, you need to finish this. So I would be fine releasing it.
All right, then if everybody is in agreement, let's have a motion.
A motion to approve the first amendment to the development agreement for Hunters Glen.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
Hey.
Do you have those noted? And Gunderson? And the motion carries. And now we are moving on to item 5.11, which is authorize the purchase of a Bobcat skid steer machine. Again, Councilmember Ivansky, please.
I wish that Mr. Sugar stayed around for this, but,
He's on his way.
oh, he's back. I suspect that staff can answer it, so you might be able to delay him, but I just want to be clear about what we're authorizing. It's a little bit unclear that what went on with this. I believe that our standard practice was with Bobcats, we would buy them, we'd use them roughly for a year, trade them in because the depreciation on the machine and the hours and the use and the wear and tear that we put on it puts us in an advantage to purchase a new machine the next year and then sort of like, for lack of a better expression, sidestep some things that potentially could go wrong or additional maintenance and things like that. But I think what I'm understanding is that that holding this machine another year only slightly diminishes that residual value, and as a result, hi, Dave, you're back.
Mr. Shoger, welcome back. We're talking skid steer. We're talking skid steer. And so Councilmember Ivansky has a couple of questions for you, I think.
Perfect.
So go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, I'm just getting a little
While
clear.
you catch your breath.
I wasn't clear from the description exactly what's going on. I suspect that what is being said is we were put in a position due to supply chain issues that we couldn't engage in our normal process of replacing a Bobcat annually. And that this particular position that we were put in forced us to come to the conclusion that this annual Bobcat recirculation, I'll call it, really is something that we should abandon that practice and move to replacing it maybe every other year because the depreciation didn't affect the value as much as we otherwise thought, and we're in a better position by going from a 1-year schedule to a 2-year schedule. And so now we're going to go and catch up, and then this new machine then goes on this 2-year cycle. Am I interpreting that the right way?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for having me back.
Mr. Shoger, welcome.
Sorry for the quick change and the being out of breath a little bit. So this item that's on here is for the S76, which is the skid steer that would be the replacement for one of the two that we currently own. So yes, indeed, we had been previously in years past able to trade in the pieces of equipment annually, them holding a higher residual value, and the cost was not so significant that it didn't make sense to do so because we could alleviate any problems of maintenance and things like that. The costs of the machines have gone up, and the trade-in value has not kept up with that as quickly as or as much as it had previously. So there was a much larger difference between the trade-in value and the cost of the new machine. So replacing it every year, we weren't able to recoup those costs of maintenance, ongoing maintenance, by just trading it in too early or earlier. So what we've done now is decided that a longer interval between trade-in period would be better, because the machines lose value immediately, but don't lose it so quickly that you can't. We are better off doing a little bit of the maintenance for the first couple of years as opposed to basically doing zero maintenance, which is what we had been able to do previously with the interval of trading them in every year.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So I think you're confirming my suspicion.
Yes, I'm saying yes, that is correct.
That this episode has given us a good picture to say, hey, from time to time, we should rethink these things.
Yes.
It's worthwhile.
Very much so, correct,
Okay.
yes. The cost benefit is not there to trade them in every year any longer, is what I was trying to say. So yes, you are correct.
And then, so we are now going to, I presume, update
longer
our
interval.
budgets so that we don't have this budgeted every year, that we have it budgeted every other year.
Yes, so what we'll do is next year, we will trade in our other one. And so we'll have a budgeted amount for the trade-in of the second of the two machines that are at the same age currently. And then from there, we'll go to an every other year basis going forward, probably keeping them on an every other year, every third year, I guess it would be, interval. So 2 years in between the trade-in intervals for each machine.
Okay, and then just, this is adjunct, it's not particularly related to this item. We're also had on consent agenda a tracked skid steer. Correct. So we'll now have the tracked skid steer,
And
this
two
one that
new
we'll
ones.
replace, which will be at a cost of about $11,000 net. And then we'll have the existing one, which will come up for
Replacement next year.
renewal in 2025.
Correct.
And then 2025, does that represent a 2-year duty cycle on that versus 1 year, or is that still staying
For the track machine or for this?
for the
real
one that
machine?
we already have that we're not replacing?
Correct. So it would be a 3-year interval on that one, so.
Okay, so it'll expand to 3, and then that one will shift to 2, and then all the others will shift to 2 as well.
Correct, that's correct. Okay. And I should make a quick amendment to that. The track machine, so this is the first time we've had a track machine, what we're purchasing on the consent agenda. We are going to be watching our hour usage on it. We know what we'd like to use it for, but we don't want to just go trading it in 2 years if it only has 100 hours on it or something like that. So we'll be identifying what that trade-in interval will be as we're using the machine.
Okay, so just to be level set, that one you think is going to be a more specialty item, is not going to get as much use. The other ones,
That's what we.
the
that's
other
what we
ones
expect.
they get used. Like,
All the
let's be
time,
fair.
yes.
Right. Okay,
Very good.
great.
All right. Yeah, Ms. Hardy, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I think this discussion just shines light on some of the culture things that we talk about when we talk about our values and our fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers and to the community. This is something, the process that you're seeing tonight, you're getting a little bit of sneak peek into kind of the behind the scenes, day-to-day conversations that department directors and staff are having to make sure that even though this is in the budget, it doesn't mean that we're going to do what we did 5 years ago or last year. We're always looking for those partnerships, those cost savings opportunities, and try to manage that budget as best as we can, making sure that we're delivering services efficiently as possible, but also as most cost effectively too. And this was a great example of some of the conversations that we're having at the staff level when we find those opportunities, bringing that forward and shedding light on that to council and our community members.
Very good. All right.
Thanks, Dave, for having us make an example of you.
I caught my breath, so thank you.
It's very Clark Kent Superman like.
Very good. All right.
So thanks for the clarity. I have all my questions answered.
All right. With that, then, I will entertain a separate motion.
I'll make a motion for the, to put 5.11 in front of us, where we trade in our 2022 S76 Bobcat for a value of $50,000 for a total cost of the city of $11,860.88.
Very good. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now moving on to our regular agenda, the first item and only item this evening is item 6.1, which is our 2023 year-end strategic plan update. With us this evening is our Assistant City Manager, Alyssa Swanson, with that report. Welcome, Ms. Swanson, please.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for having me here this evening. And I know this slide looks very familiar to you all. I'm sure at this point you could probably give this presentation because we've been doing it for quite some time now. But it is our quarterly review of our strategic plan. Again, I know you all know this information, but if anyone is tuning in at home, we'll just do a little background just on how we got here and where we came from. So back in 2021, City Council, you sat down with a strategic plan consultant at a workshop and really nailed out what you want the future of Victoria to look like in the next couple of years. And as a result of that workshop, you came up with 8 priorities, which are on the screen, and they range from infrastructure and transportation to community and engagement to recreation and culture and everything in between. And within those 8 different priorities are an additional 123 objectives that really tell us as staff what is important to the City of Victoria, what is important to City Council, and the things that we need to make sure that we're hitting the nail on the head to really making sure we're getting this completed for us in the next couple of years. So this plan was started in 2021. Obviously, we're the end of 2023 here. This is the Q4 2023 strategic plan update. And we have completed about 100 of those 123 initiatives. So we're not completely done yet. We still have a little bit more to go. And a lot of those are marked uncompleted or in progress are things related to transportation. We have a lot of Highway 5 improvements that are on that list, 82nd Street. Those improvements that Kara talked about at today's workshop. There's also things related to community development. We have some zoning code updates that we still need to make on those and a couple of other things that are on there. And just for the record, all those 123 initiatives are included in the staff report. It's about a 14-page document that goes into each one of the details on where we are, why we are, where we are in those areas, and when we're planning on finishing those. But what we do like to do, instead of going through that entire spreadsheet, we like to highlight some of the projects that have either been completed within the quarter or at least move forward within the quarter. And we like to call those our spotlights. So I'll bring up the first spotlight for us, which is under housing and community character. And it's the initiative review pet store ordinance. And why I bring this up is actually in Q4 2023, there was a significant project that occurred within the Planning Commission and the city's community development team, which was to review and provide clarification around the uses of businesses in our central business district, otherwise known as our downtown area. Prior to this revision, many different store types weren't allowed within the district, such as like boutique fitness stores, boutique fitness studios, other types of pet supply stores, as well as other retail shops. So staff, as well as the Planning Commission, really took a deep dive and provided some revisions to this ordinance in the last quarter. What this is really going to help with is allow our CBD district to really grow with the times, as well as keep that vibrant and charm character that we love in our downtown piece. So this is a great initiative that we were happy to check off the list and bring forward as part of this update. We also have another spotlight for you under the recreation and culture, which is a host of special events throughout the year. This is something that we're really proud to do within our Parks and Recreation Department, as well as our Communications Department, is to bring these great community events that really make people want to be part of Victoria and really make our community sparkle. And one of our major events that occurs throughout the year is our Light Up Victoria event, where we try and bring the holiday cheer with our annual Light Up the Community program. This has really grown over the last number of years, and this is really thanks to our team as well as our sponsors, our local businesses that really bring this event to where it is today. And we are looking at expanding for next year. We had an amazing turnout, more than we anticipated. So we're looking at bringing more activities next year, upping up the fun, as well as just expanding the time, because there was not enough time to have as much fun as we brought to the community for that event. And another shout out to Len Olson. He is a resident of Victoria that brought in the Toys to Tots campaign as part of this event. His goal was 2023 presents that were donated, and we long surpassed that goal. So thanks to him, we were able to bring in a little holiday magic as part of this event too. And then last spotlight for you is under infrastructure and transportation. The initiative is Adopt Facility Space Needs Study, and I will note that this initiative was actually complete in 2020 as part of our adopted space needs study we conducted with Wold Architect and Engineering. But as part of that study, they really laid out what's the future of Victoria's staffing is going to look like, what we need for storage, what we need for space. And they created a short, mid, and long-term list for us to look at possibly completing within the next couple of years. One of the items on the short list was remodeling our water treatment plant office and lab space. This is one of our most important facilities within our city. It obviously provides treatment to our water, but it is our major critical infrastructure, so we want to make sure that this space has enough storage for our team, enough space for our team to work, and as well as an adequate lavatory. So we're continuously testing our water supply to ensure that we're providing clean and healthy water to our residents. So as part of this project, we were able to create an underutilized, almost like hallway corridor space that our public works director, Superman Dave, was functioning out of, into 2 offices for him as well as our water and superintendent, which is the picture up on the screen here. We're also able to expand our lab space to provide adequate space for them to treat and look at our water and high detail, and then as well as expand our IT space. Obviously, we're growing, technology is continuously improving, and we're involving it in our day-to-day lives. So we're looking at, or we did expand our IT storage closet to provide us additional space for our servers and racks. And with that, Council, do you have any questions related to this quarter's strategic plan updates or any of the spotlights we shared with you this evening?
Council, questions, comments? Nicely done. We appreciate the hard work that the staff puts forth and talks to us about every quarter. So, you know, it's always easy for us to wave our magic wand and go take care and make this happen, and then you guys go do it. So that's awesome. And we appreciate that. So you are not looking for anything further from us this evening. This was informational. So with that, there are no more items on the regular agenda this evening, and we can move on to reports and emerging issues. So Attorney Vos, let's start with you. Anything from you this evening?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, maybe I'll take the opportunity, since I rarely do it, to give you a quick update. I was at a city attorneys conference for a couple days last week, which was as exciting as that sounds. It was scintillating. It's a chance, though, for all the city attorneys in the state to get together with the League of Cities and sort of talk about hot legal issues among cities. And I did jot down a couple of notes that I thought you might care about, sort of 3 things. One is that the Office of Cannabis was there to talk about the licensing program and the potential that cities or local governments are going to want to actually be vendors, sellers of cannabis products. That was one of their highlights, but that wasn't the highlight I wanted to bring back. The highlight I wanted to bring back is that they remain on track, they think, to get their licensing regime up and going by the beginning of next year, 2025. But they are, and this is a little unique for a state agency to be doing this, they are actually going to be advocating for a change in the law. Often state agencies don't view it as their role to lobby for changes in the laws that they govern or that they regulate. They're going to advocate, though, for a change that currently the law says if an applicant for a license is going to go to the state to get the license, they have to identify a location in a community where they would intend to sell. And the community then has an opportunity to say, yes, that's a lawful location, that's a commercial location or an appropriate retail place for this kind of thing to occur. They'd like to remove that local input step, I guess on the theory that these folks that are going to be selling are having a hard time getting capital, partly because it's not legal federally at this point still, but also I think for other reasons. And the need to identify a space before you go and get the license is a point at which you need the capital, right? You need the capital to get the space. So that's being viewed as an impediment, I guess, to potential applicants. And so they're going to advocate for a change in that law. Second point, sort of similar to that, is that the league, your advocates at the state, the League of Cities, thinks that just sort of across the board generally, and I think you've heard this, there is an expectation that there's going to continue to be some attacks is too strong a word, but some challenges, legislative challenges to local, particularly zoning authority. In other words, some proposals to pare back on city authority to deal with zoning and land use type issues. And then lastly, far afield from those two things, I had mentioned, I think to you in the past, that there was a Minnesota Supreme Court case that was pending. It's now been decided. It deals with park dedication requirements, cities' authority to either require dedication of land for parks or in lieu of that, money, so that your park commission has money to spend on existing parks. That case has been decided, and the takeaway was that the decision was hard to understand, but the takeaway from the lawyers that actually advocated in the case is that cities are essentially encouraged now by this decision to truly make individualized decisions about how much park demand a given development creates, and to make the fee commensurate with the amount of demand that a particular development is going to create. In other words, simplify that, I think basically the takeaway is, rather than focusing so much on the overall acreage of a development, it's to focus on the number of units, housing units or units, commercial units in a development, i.e. demand that development is going to create for your park system. That will require many cities, I don't want to say most, but many cities are going to have to rethink the way we've got our park dedication arrangements set up. So that's something that maybe staff and I will get to talk a little bit about going forward.
How does we have lots of trails, right? So how does that fact, right? Like, so if they're connected by trails, now you also have a larger amount of people that can use it. I'm assuming that's a factor we'll be able to look at.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, it's a great point. Sort of how do you evaluate the demand a development is going to cause, and then how do you evaluate what kind of demand it is? I think to your point, is it going to be to move around to get to parks that aren't right in my development? Probably yes. That's an appropriate expenditure, of course, for park dedication fees, trail systems. And so, yeah, I feel you on that. I think that evaluating, there was folks, just to lean out over my skis, some folks in the room at this conference felt like the upshot of this decision was that commercial and industrial developments should be viewed as creating no demand on park systems and thus should never have to pay park dedication fees. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the legal consequence of this decision, but there is some questioning now of whether only residential developments should be subject to park dedication fees, and should those fees be driven purely by the number of homes or the number of units that are being created, or is there some other metric that you can use in figuring that out?
So that would, are we going by a density metric then, where more dense neighborhoods should have a higher percentage or a higher dollar amount for parks?
Yeah,
because they bring in more demand.
Mayor and Council, that's the logical extension of what I'm saying to you. And the problem with that, just let's identify what maybe in the backs of your minds you're thinking. The problem is that this city, and I think a lot of cities, want to be fair to developers. We don't want to treat developers disparately based on things that don't seem like they're fair to the developers. We'd like to treat everyone as similarly as we can. And that's in tension with the idea that we have to individually evaluate each development and how much demand it's creating on our park system. If we literally did that, we would be imposing a different park dedication fee on each and every development. And that doesn't quite feel equitable. And so that's the tension. That's exactly right.
All right. Very good. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to sort of...
Councilmember Ivansky, please.
With that theme. So is it that we're mandated to step away from an acreage formula, or does it just open up more flexibility in determining those approaches? Is there an adoptive approach where we would have to, or is that something that's going to have to go back to the legislature for clarity on how it is that cities would navigate that?
Yeah. So Mayor and Council member, we're of course we're talking about teasing out of a decision in a particular controversy the general rule for all cities across all developments, and that's hard to do. That's, I guess, why there are lawyers in the world. That's our job. But I don't think you can tease out of the decision that you must abandon a acreage-based fee. It's just that those become more challengeable, and I think your justification for doing it that way is what you need to focus on if that's what you want to do. As an example, in the particular case that was decided, it was a City of Burnsville case, actually, and that city had recited in its fee schedule reliance on its comprehensive plan that contains lots and lots of paragraphs, lots of words about how parks are important and how different kinds of development create demand on the park system. And because Burnsville had referred to the comprehensive plan, they were able to defend and justify their particular park dedication formula. And so part of the advice from the decision, I think, is cities just need to be intentional about how we're justifying, how we are rationalizing the fees that we're imposing. We have to know what our story is about why we're imposing the fees that we are. So that I think is part of it. But, you know, you could take it the next step and say, is it safer to move away from that? And I suppose one could make the argument that it is safer to move away from this kind of a formula.
So back to you said that some people are saying, right, that this is basically saying commercial development doesn't need to pay. So does that mean, one, do we expect commercial developments to try and, right, like if they're being charged a park dedication to fight these probably more now, and then so that will obviously get another case to tell us where we're going, but also does it make sense for us to write our stuff to make sure that we're covered, I guess, by, because it made it sound like, right, like as long as it's in our plan type of thing, that we're better off, I guess, is, yeah.
Mayor, council member, great question. I think it's the latter. I think it's what I just, the colloquy I just had. It's that there is at least an argument that some kinds of commercial development create less demand for parks than large, dense residential developments. I think that's fair and fairly obvious. The idea, though, that commercial developments create no demand on park systems, that employees and patrons of commercial sites never use parks, I mean, it's just obviously wrong. And so, to your point, I think you just need to have put some words down somewhere in your comp plan or in your fee scheduler. You need some rationalization for why a commercial development would create some demand on your park system and thus should be required to make a park a dedication or a payment in lieu of that. So it's the justification. Yep.
All right, any other thoughts on that? And anything else, Attorney Bose?
No, thanks, Mayor.
All right, Ms. Hardy, any reports from staff?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
And council members, anything from council this evening?
None from me, Mayor.
I do, actually.
Yeah, Councilmember Roberts, please.
So we all got an email recently, and then I saw some chatter on social media about this, so I just thought it might be good to talk about with the public. So there's questions about why Victoria residents cannot sign up for events or classes in Three Rivers Park compared to Scott County and Hennepin County. And so I know City Manager Dana Hardy responded to the gentleman that sent a email basically saying, right, like actually Carver County does not, our property taxes do not go towards the Three Rivers Park, and that Scott County and Hennepin counties do. So that is why they get a 2-day advance on being able to sign up for things, even though, you know, some of them may be in our city, right? So, so I guess I just want to put that out there, one, to let the public know that staff is going to be in communication, if they aren't already, with Three Rivers Park to see if we can get the early sign up as well. But then I guess also just, I don't think the city, we've done anything wrong. I just am curious, like, it's one of those things where you don't know until you don't know, right? Like, my understanding from the people that have been chatting about this is that, because I didn't notice this, like that this is a this year thing, or has that, first of all, I guess, yeah. It sounds like it's maybe this is the first year that they're doing this. I guess, do we know that? One is has this been in place previously? And then two, you know, we just annexed the park, right? So that obviously would have been a good negotiating with, right? But again, like, we don't know what we don't know. So is there any ways for us to know, like, I guess in the future, so that we're prepared to say, like, hey, yeah, we'll annex you, but, you know, maybe our residents should get that benefit as well. So.
Okay. Ms. Hardy, any comments on that? Just
Certainly, Mayor, Councilmember Roberts, members of the council. I maybe will start, and I'm looking at Alyssa. Maybe she can tag team with me. So absolutely, with the new recent annexation of the Park District into the city, there certainly opens a door for a different, I'll call it, level of relationship or partnership that we perhaps have not experienced previously. And so those conversations are on our radar. And what we've been talking about internally is waiting for a new Parks and Rec director to come on board, so we can be more productive in those conversations. So depending on council's appetite, if you'd like those conversations to happen sooner rather than later, that's certainly something that Alyssa and I can do some initial outreach very quickly, just to establish that relationship. But so those conversations have not yet been had, but we are hearing from residents in the community who are asking the question. I'm not sure we have the answer to whether this is new this year, new practice. The other thing that I'll mention is we've had some conversations internally about just the beautiful park amenities that we have in our community, whether they're city operated by the Park District, or operated by another entity like an HOA. There are many wonderful amenities in our city of lakes and parks, and we are, as a team, as a staff, are thinking more creatively after conversations we had in October with council about future programming and partnerships. And so we are thinking more creatively about the partnerships, who's not at the table, that should be at the table. How do we strengthen the partnerships that we have? And how do we be creative and maybe programming or introducing new programming or complementing or enhancing existing programs? So if there's something that's really popular, if there's an opportunity for us to partner to offer that program, it fills up very quickly each year. Maybe there's something that we can do, whether it's through funding or resources or some sort of collaboration that would maybe make that available for additional days, or be offered again in the future, or a similar program. Those are all things that we are thinking through and developing a framework for when we sit down, whether it's the Park District or another partner to be identified. And I'll just maybe look over to Alyssa, see if she's got anything else to add to that.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for the great summary, Dana. That's unfortunately where we are. We do not know if this is the first year for the early bird special. We do know that in this year and in prior years, there is a significant discount rate for if you're a Hennepin and Scott County resident when it comes to their programs, and that does go back into who actually funds the Three Rivers Park District, which happens to be Scott County and Hennepin County residents. Carver County, yes, we have Carver Park Reserve right in our back door. Now it's officially in Victoria, and that goes way back to the 1960s with a state legislature decision on seeing that park as having regional significance and asking Three Rivers Park to take on that property as part of their district, although it's not within their typical county area. But I don't know if I have anything additional to add, but I'm happy to stand for any additional questions.
I'm just curious, I know that Three Rivers Park has park commissioners assigned to certain areas, and because we're not part of their tax-paying base, do we have a commissioner that represents Victoria? We do not, okay. So, yeah, at the risk of maybe sticking our head up and going, we'd like to pay some taxes. I'm not sure we want to do that, but I think there are some opportunities, and I know staff is committed to taking a look at those.
I would just add, right, like, yes, we're not paying the property taxes like Scott and Hennepin, but they are getting financial, right? We talked about this when we annexed, and there are services we're giving them that our residents are footing the bill for. So, which is why I was like, again, it was one of those things you don't know until you know, right? But it would have been great if this information was before we annexed, because we would have had a little bit more leverage.
Understood. All right. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah, Councilmember Reif, please.
On something different. So,
yeah, let's go something different.
Just a shout out to staff, the website with the projects, what we've got going on with the highway construction projects. Great resource for us all, and I'm hearing great feedback from the community on it. So they love the awareness, the transparency. So just a shout out there.
Terrific. You can find everything you want on our city website, pretty much, if it has to do with the city. And if you can't, we have very helpful staff who is happy to direct. All right, Councilmember Gunderson, you got anything? All right. Anybody else? Last call? All right, with that, there are no more items to come before the body this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.